Okay, so I'm going to go through a few things that we are going to have to learn this semester. And all the things I'm going to talk about in this video are ways that you can help, ways that will help you come up with ideas, create concepts, sort of educate yourself, um, research, all sort of techniques that you can use that will help you create design. So the first one I want to go over is what you would get anytime you work on a project in a design firm. So at Signals we would have the account people write a creative brief. Really what the creative brief is meant to do is to repeat back what the client has asked for. And then along with that, it also sets up the designers to understand what the project has to accomplish. So if you have a look here, you can sort of see the contents of the creative brief. So the date, the project name, when is it due, which is the completion date, who's the project manager, who's the client, who's the personnel working on the project, the objectives, the audience, the USP, UVP, competition, deliverables, and timeline, which is one of the most important. So you can sort of see on here, and this will be a document that I give you, that for a lot of the projects going forward at Wilson, you'll be asked to create these yourself. So I'll just touch on a few things on here. So right off the bat, sort of personnel responsible, who is in charge of final approvals, who should be involved in the process, what's the project concept, what's the purpose of the project, what are you hoping to achieve, what are the marketing objectives, so what are the goals that you want to have. So you would write a short overview of the project as a whole. Who is the audience? This is a big one because depending on the sectors, these will influence the kind of design you do. So the creative brief is something on a major project you will write quite a few times at the Wilson School of Design. Not so much in this class, but it is in the industry. It's kind of the sort of go-to way for me to help my designers understand what the project is about. Okay, so the first one I'm going to touch on is what we call brainstorming. And you've probably heard this, you probably heard it in high school, you've probably heard it in your clubs that you've joined, or maybe in a group of friends sat around, and it really is what it sounds. In graphic design, when you think about brainstorming, you think about these ideas coming to you and writing them down on a board, and that is the actual case. When I brainstorm, when I think of brainstorming, it's typically with a group of people. Brainstorming by myself is just coming up with ideas. So I usually associate brainstorming with sitting down with one person that's running sort of the meeting, throwing out ideas, whether they're good or bad. It's a very well used instrument in graphic design, and oftentimes it leads to ideas for designers to follow. So brainstorming is one of the things that we'll look at this semester. So a couple of the other ones that we're going to look at, and some of these I use, some of these I don't use, but they're all rooted in tried and true sort of ways to create ideas. So mind mapping is really, it's a form of mental research that allows us to sort of write down the problem, figure out sort of branches off of it. So you can, on the screen here, you can sort of see two different ways to do it. The one on the right is primarily just starting, they all start with the idea in the middle, right? So If it's a logo, you put the name of it down in the middle, and then you kind of build these branches off. I tend to use the one on the left a lot more. So you can sort of see, it says under, and then, there's branches off, and you're writing notes to yourself. So subculture, underground music, under society, underdressed, underwater. So really you're just you're brainstorming with yourself, and you're just putting it down on paper. So you're basically starting with the idea or the name or the word in the middle, and then you're building branches off as you come up with different sort of ways to sort of look at it. And they can be visual, they can be just notes. You try and keep one branch in the same sort of train of thought, but they can be, mind mapping is a great way to sort of just put everything down and then go back to it later and filter out the things that you think work and don't work. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at just briefly are mood boards, and maybe you've used mood boards before. Finding inspiration for design projects can be tough. Organizing it and turning that inspiration into a cohesive base for a design is also tough. So mood boards are basically physical or digital collages that arrange images, materials, text, colors, any other design elements into a format that's representative of the direction you want to go. They can serve a lot of purposes, starting with organizing the inspiration around a project, setting the visual tone. I'm sort of I tend to look at Pinterest a lot. So there's digital mood boards where if I'm working on an interior, so I do a lot of graphic designs for hospital interiors. I'll do things like illustration styles and colors, that type of thing. So I'll often have a mood board just in Pinterest. You can also do physical ones. So putting paint down, collection of found items. The inspiration for mood boards can come from anywhere. And in fact, whether you're looking at colors or photographs or art, the one thing that you really want to try and avoid with a mood board is actually finding a direct link between your mood board and the thing you're designing. And I used to talk to my designers about this all the time. So we were working on banners for Hastings Street and the Business Association. They came back with mood boards with banners on them and the style that they wanted to do, and that isn't the idea of a mood board. The idea of a mood board is come back with a certain style, if you like, colors, but don't bring me direct links of the project you're actually working on, because all that does is lead you down a road of just copying and plagiarizing something that's already been done. So that's mood board. Okay, so in our image development class, we talked about sort of one-line sketching and not lifting your pencil. Brain dump is just another way to come up with ideas. So it can be just kind of a giant doodle. Traditional brainstorming is an activity that is often in groups, but brain dumping is really sort of for a single designer. So what you really want to do is just put down anything that comes to mind. You want to sort of set a time limit, so a few minutes, and just start drawing away. Try not lifting your pencil. It's the same as the sketching foundation that we talked about. What we're looking at here is this was actually a brain dump for Shakespeare poster. So you can sort of see all these sort of different ideas going into it, and then you take a bit of that away, and then see if there's any sort of golden nuggets, and in this case this brain dump sort of sketch led to this very well-known sort of Shakespearean poster from Luba Lakova. So you can sort of see that, you know, just going through the process and understanding that not everything has to be perfect, but you want to be able to communicate things to yourself without just doing scribbles that don't mean anything. So you can sort of see how it can lead to some interesting things. So that's brain dump, and brain dump is just a form of thumbnails as well. And that kind of leads us just to sort of doing thumbnails and roughs. So you know, as important as it is to do thumbnails when you're doing illustration, it's even more important that you guys sort of start to understand that the tighter and the better you can do thumbnails with a pen and a pencil, the quicker you're going to go through ideas, and the quicker you're going to go through ideas that don't work. So what you're going to notice as you go through your 4 years here is there's going to be times where you just want to jump on the computer and start moving things around. The problem with that is you tend to always land or first of all, you end up going in circles, and a lot of times you end up having design that is kind of just surface level design. It doesn't necessarily have an idea behind it. So the reason I use thumbnails is really because I can sketch out things a lot quicker, and I can do multiple versions of thumbnails for graphic design using pen and paper than I can on the computer. And I've been doing this for 20 odd years, and I can still whip out a bunch of ideas in pencil and sort of go through them and go, yeah, that might work, okay, I'm on to something here. All of that can be done pretty quickly, and you can discount things. You don't have to set up type boxes and things like that. So you end up being able to do ideas way quicker. So this isn't a very good logo, but if you basically look at it, the person at least is going through a process of trying to figure out a bunch of different ideas without having to jump in Illustrator, and without using a pen tool or shapes. You can sort of discount things right off the bat. So we will be doing a ton of thumbnails. So you are going to be the first class that is going to go through this school that is going to have these things down pat, and you will thank me for it later, I promise you.